Morning, I appreciate it. Let's bring in Liberal MP Kelly O'Dwyer now from Melbourne and Labor MP Nick Champion. Kelly O'Dwyer, your reaction to the fact that Peter Beattie is going to be contesting the seat of Forde for the Labor Party?
Well, Peter Beattie, like Kevin Rudd, is the last of the great pretenders. He's very big on talk, wasn't very good on implementation or action, and I think that the Queensland people did cast their judgment on his government. He was a wrecker of the Queensland economy, and it just goes to show that Labor, with their recycling of these former premiers, whether it's Peter Beattie in Queensland, whether it's Bob Carr in New South Wales, they have no new ideas for this country. They have the same old attitude, which is spend big, spend money you don't have, spend taxpayers' money, not only today but into the future, leaving a generational legacy for years and years to come. The Australian people are sick of it, and I think that they will declare that very strongly, not only in the seat of Forde but right across the country.
Nick Champion, is this a sign, as Kelly asserts, that Labor can't find any new talent?
No, I think this is unambiguously good news for the Labor cause. Peter Beattie is a great leader of state Queensland and obviously will be a great contributor to the federal parliament. He's a big figure from Queensland, and him coming into the team is great news. Great news. All
right, let's move on to the jobs figures out today. Nick Champion, again, your area of Northern Adelaide, it's got its own issues in terms of its economy. The jobs numbers, we know, sadly, are forecast to hit 6.25% now in this financial year. If this number is a big one today, is that a significant setback to the Labor Party's election chances?
Well, clearly the economy is in transition, and one of the things I've been doing locally is getting some new jobs into the area, and the Penfield Intermodal Freight Project. So 300 new jobs there being created off some investments in infrastructure. Clearly that's what we have to do across the country. We have to diversify our economy, and clearly with the mining boom coming off and the growth in China changing, that means we have to move with the times too. So it's a challenge for the country. We think the government is best placed to meet those challenges, just like we met the challenges during the global financial crisis, keeping unemployment low when the rest of the world's unemployment was very, very high. And you only have to look at the United Kingdom, where they narrowly avoided a triple dip recession, to know the impact of the coalition's policy of austerity.
Many economists believe, Kelly O'Dwyer, that you've got to look at the base and the rate of the GST. Joe Hockey said that it will be part of a review, and other senior frontbenchers have made that clear, but that you'd seek a mandate to change it. But do you think it's inevitable that it will have to at some point?
We've said that we're not changing the GST. In fact, in order to change the GST, you need to have all of the states on board to do it. It is a states tax. The money goes to the states. We're going to have a comprehensive tax review. We're going to go through the proper process, unlike this government, who introduces new taxes, on the spur of the moment. We've got 43 new or increased taxes and counting, and they're big taxes at that, casting a huge economic cloud over business, over confidence, over certainty and over jobs. I mean, you were just talking about the unemployment figures. They're devastating, absolutely devastating. And while we hear from Nick Champion today that somehow this government was responsible for keeping employment strong during the GFC, as we get further and further from the global financial crisis that they say was their excuse to spend big and to borrow money, the figures are getting worse in this country. Everywhere else around the world, the figures are improving. Okay. They're trending in the right direction. We're trending in the wrong direction.
Isn't it simplistic, Nick Champion, for the Labor Party simply to revert to a scare campaign on the GST, just because, as Kelly O'Dwyer argued there, that they're going to have a review, as you should? Look at everything. You had a Henry review, but you couldn't touch the GST.
Well, look, Kieran, it's not a scare campaign to accurately reflect the opposition's policies. They've told us that, for instance, they're going to cut the school kids' bonus. What will the impact of that be? Well, family budgets will be cut, so corporate taxation can be lowered. And we know they can't afford this corporate tax cut because their costings are all over the shop. Even yesterday, a $2 billion discrepancy in the savings that Joe Hockey had to the costings that Tony Abbott had. So, and then later explained by the Deputy Leader as perhaps they could get those two individuals on Lateline to explain it. A bizarre combo. But we know that their inclusion of the GST in this taxation review is just the first step to lifting the GST. Then they'll try and roll over the Tasmanian and South Australian Labor governments. They'll try and win there. And when they've got wall-to-wall Liberal governments, we'll have a very big lift in the GST's rate and a very big widening of its base. Food will come in,
this is
and
the
GST
total,
will
total speculation and scare campaign.
It's not speculation. It's the consequence. It's the consequence. It's the consequence of their policies. It's a consequence of their policies.
But they said that they'd take it to an election. They did say they'd taken it to an election. Joe Hockey made it clear yesterday.
Even if they take it to an election, even if they take it to election,
all right.
Even if they took it to an election, it's still on their agenda.
Let's look at the costings issue. Kelly O'Dwyer, Nick Champion referred to it there. Is it in your interests to get the full costings out there? Because everyone's playing guesswork, really, with what pays for what. You've said there's $17 billion in savings, but no detail as to what covers, the company tax cut or the carbon compensation. We're all just guessing.
Well, first let me say I think it is audacious for this government, for Nick, for the Prime Minister, for Chris Bowen and others to claim that somehow they're superior economic managers. We have seen in just over 10 and a bit weeks now a deterioration in their own budget figures that they handed down by more than $3 billion a week.
And to your numbers
this is
now.
A government
to
that
your
has
numbers, we're going to run out of
never been able
time.
to get it right. OK, well, to our numbers, we have been working with the Parliamentary Budget Office. We have already said that we have more than $15 billion in savings that have been announced. Our policies are going to be fully costed, fully funded. We will declare that after PFO is announced and before the budget date. People will have a clear view of how our policies are costed, how they'll be fully funded, which is very different from the government, who keep making spending announcements on borrowed money without really declaring accurately or in a trustworthy way to the Australian people where it's coming from.
Kelly O'Dwyer, Nick Champion, have a good day. We'll chat to you again many times throughout the campaign. Appreciate it. A quick break and we'll be back with Barnaby.